Okay, so let's talk about last night's game. The Los Angeles Lakers versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Before I get into today's topic, I first like to throw a couple of disclaimers out there. One, it is too early in the season to predict who's going to win the NBA final, who's the best team, who's the worst team, who's going to make it who's going to make it into the playoffs, what player's going to win MVP, yada yada yada. It's too early in the season because, like I always tell you guys, the NBA season is a marathon. It's not a sprint, so you just can't go by what you see or what you see on the box scores or stats, because all that stuff is trickery and it can fool you. All right. So let's go into last night's game, shall we? We look at the Philadelphia 76ers. They are really a tough matchup for the Lakers, and allow a brother to explain. The Los Angeles Lakers are a smaller team. Okay. It's not the same team like it was last year. Okay. So they don't have the type of players that can match up very well with a Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, so on and so forth. Now, just those three players in particular, they're talented, they're athletic, and they're big, and they got length, okay? So they can really spread and cover the floor, which is a nightmare for the Los Angeles Lakers, particularly what the Los Angeles Lakers would like to do. They're a smaller team, they're more athletic, okay, and they're younger, okay? So Montrezl Harrell will flourish with the Los Angeles Lakers in their system. Dennis Schroeder, likewise. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, okay? They will flourish in that type of offense, all right? Because they're more grounded, they're more athletic, and they're younger, okay? We look at the Philadelphia 76ers, they're taller, they're athletic, and they have length, okay? So when the rubber meets the road, the Los Angeles Lakers cannot defend the Philadelphia 76ers, because to defend a team, you have to beat them and stop them, stuff that they're used to getting. You have to stop them from doing it. And you can't stop them from doing it when their bigs are taller than your bigs. All right? Now, I'm not going to go into the controversy about LeBron James late. I believe it was in the game. Joel Embiid said that he should have been kicked out of that game. I'm not even going to go into that. What I will go into is Doc Rivers' mindset. He's already developed a mental mindset with the Philadelphia 76ers that they were lacking in previous seasons. All right? So they're more tough-minded, and they still have the same old traits. They're still lengthy, they're still athletic, they're still big. If Joel Embiid can just stay grounded, stay closer to the basket, and get 20 points and 10 or more rebounds, and just be dominant on the low post, he's a tough out. There's not a player in the NBA that can stop Joel Embiid. All right. Now, I think that could happen more so than Ben Simmons developing a jumper, a consistent three-point shot, which, by the way, I've been on record, and I have said this last year, and I really don't see too much of it this year, that Ben Simmons is slowly but surely developing those other skill sets that he was lacking in previous seasons. All right, I still don't see the commitment there, and it could be one of many things. Maybe Ben Simmons is just happy on what he can do, and he's really not going to try to strengthen the things that he's weak in. Or maybe it's Doc Rivers. When Doc Rivers is not a developmental type of coach. He sort of coaches. He sort of coaches teams when he sort of coaches the type of teams that already have on the cusp or already developed players. And Ben Simmons is a working project. All right. So, but when you look at Dwight Howard is on that team as well for the Philadelphia 76ers. And they just got too many bigs for the Los Angeles Lakers to defend. All right. Yes, LeBron can defend some. Yes, Anthony Davis can defend some. But Montrezl Harrell cannot help the Lakers on that standpoint. There's a reason why Montrezl Harrell is no longer with the Clippers, because he could not defend the man that's in front of him. So how he's going to defend players such as Joel Embiid? Maybe you can match him up with Ben Simmons. Well, one thing you have to worry about, if he does match up with Ben Simmons is not going to kill him with his mid-range or his three-point capabilities. All right, he will be able to take Montrezl Harrell down low. And I think he will win those battles, all right? Maybe not the war, but he will win those battles, all right? Montrezl Harrell is more of a 6'7" small forward without the small forward skill set. He's got a power forward center mentality, but if you look at his height and if you look at his mental mindset, he thinks he's a small forward, but he's not. All right, he's a power forward at base. He's an undersized power forward center. All right, and he had a hard time defending the 4 and the 5. So that's going to continue to be his trait, even with the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, I think I done cooked Montrezl Harrell enough. I'm just going to let the man breathe. But when you look at those other acquisitions the Los Angeles Lakers picked up in the NBA free agency, yeah, they're younger, they're athletic, they can score, but when it really matters the most, can they stop a player on a hot streak like Tobias Harris? Tobias Harris was having his way with the Los Angeles Lakers, and for all those out there that said, well, I'm sorry, Montrezl Harrell, if you're listening, I apologize. But a lot of people were saying, well, Montrezl Harrell, paired up with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is going to help him on the defensive end. Where was Anthony Davis when Montrezl Harrell had his opportunities to try to defend Tobias Harris? All right. By the way, Anthony Davis had a hard time just keeping up with Joel Embiid. All right. But see, that's what I'm talking about. Bigger teams with length and athleticism is going to be a problem for the Lakers. Now, is this a recipe for the Lakers not repeating, not even going to the playoffs, not even going to the postseason? I'm not going to go that far. They're going to go to the postseason, but I feel like this year it's going to be a lot tougher for them to make it to the finals than it was last season. All right, so the 76ers beat the Lakers. The Lakers, this is the first time the Lakers lost on the road. And like I said in the beginning of this video, and I've said this in several videos, the NBA season is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You can't dictate what you see and what the stats tell you and then determine and say, okay, well, this team is better than that team. Okay, this team is going to the postseason. Okay, this team is going to be a representative of the West and the East in the NBA Finals. You can't determine none of that stuff because the season is very, very early. All right. And, the Lakers have been in talks and in the rumor mill of talking about trading for Bradley Beal. Well, you have to have assets if the Wizards want to entertain that. And one of those assets, which, by the way, he was a no-show in last night's game, was Kuzma. Okay, so what happened to Kuz? Okay, what happened to this explosive dynamo on the offensive end? All right, this is what I'm talking about. The Lakers gave up so much youth and athleticism and height. You can't teach those things, by the way. You're either talented or you're not. Okay, you're either tall or you're not. Okay, you're either athletic or you're not. The Lakers gave up on those acquisitions, okay, when they had LeBron James, just to get Anthony Davis, and they kept Kuzma because Kuzma was LeBron's favorite, okay? Well, They can score. The Lakers have no problem with scoring, but when it comes to defending, they have issues. Now they're talking about trying to get Bradley Beal, and the odd man now is probably going to be Kuz. But all you're doing is swapping pretty much the same player. Bradley Beal's a lot better offensively than Kuz, but what you really need is length and height. Okay, you need a solid 4 or a 5. That's what you need to be trading or getting off the street. Okay, otherwise, teams such as the Brooklyn Nets, you're gonna have a hard time with those teams because they have players already on their roster that is tall, athletic, has length, like Kevin Durant. Okay, yeah, they have two smaller players such as James Harden and Kyrie Irving. Okay, but they still have enough players on that roster that will give it's going to be a tough out for the Lakers. All right. And when you talk about the other teams, in the West, like the Jazz, I think they're going to have issues with the Jazz in the series. I'm not going to say the Jazz can beat the Lakers in a series, but it's going to be a tough out for them. All right. When you got teams that already have athletic big men, it's going to be a struggle for the Lakers to to stay in front of that guy because they don't have that guy on their roster right now that can do that. All right. They gave up on their height for offensive players. All right. And they don't have any draft picks that can help them in the foreseeable future. All right. So it is what it is. All right. The Lakers can outscore people. But when it comes to, stopping a big, particularly a big that's on a hot streak, Tobias Harris was on a hot streak with the Los Angeles Lakers. Let that sink in for a second. Let me repeat that again. Tobias Harris was on a hot streak with the Los Angeles Lakers. All right? That should just tell you enough. That should be enough in the nutshell to tell you that the Los Angeles Lakers have problems at the 4 and then at the 5. Okay? Yes, they got Anthony Davis, but what else do they have? Anthony Davis can't play every minute of every game. And you have to take in accountability that Anthony Davis is injury prone. All right? So you better get somebody that can, sub in for Anthony Davis if he has to take a night off or if he's injured or if he needs help on the low post because Montrezl Harrell is not the answer. Okay, he's just simply not the answer. Okay, Montrezl Harrell with others will be an answer, but just only Montrezl Harrell, it's not the answer. All right, so that's all I got for today. I will talk to you guys later. Deuces.